I would especially like to welcome our distinguished guests. Our keynote speaker is Xiuhtezcatl, his brother Itzcuauhtli, who will also be performing, and their father, Xiuhtezcatl Martinez. Our fearless leader, President Lance Bolton, will also be presenting shortly. And Felix Lopez, Vice President for Student Success, is the person who gave me the idea for inviting Xiuhtezcatl and Itzcuauhtli to speak and perform today. Thank you. Before we get started, I would like to encourage all attendees in completing an event satisfaction survey during the program. The form can be found on your tables. Keep in mind, there are two sides to the survey. At the end of the program, the survey will serve as your lunch ticket. There are many reasons why you may have come here this morning. Perhaps you have come to indulge in the free food, to hear about the history of Earth Day, to learn about the principles of sustainability and how they are applied at PPCC, to be entertained by an eco-hip-hop performance, or to be inspired by 14-year-old environmentalists. While what I have just listed is part of our program today, my hope is that we move beyond valuing Earth merely for its beauty, recreation, and resources. My hope is that we come to know that our daily actions greatly impact our surrounding environment's ability to support life. My hope is that we not only recognize but act on our responsibility to live sustainably so that the people, economy, and planet can flourish harmoniously for the future generations to come. I would like to take this time to thank you for attending. Our first guest speaker this morning will give a short presentation on the history of Earth Day. Please help me welcome President Lance Bolton.
So I just want to say welcome to our special guests. We appreciate you all being here. And warm Pikes Peak Community College welcome to everybody. Glad to see you this morning. I want to say a moment of kudos to Student Life and the Sustainability Coordinator, Konrad, for putting together the Earth Day program. We really appreciate it. It's an important part of who we are and what our responsibilities are in education. So I was asked to provide a short presentation on the history of Earth Day. So Earth Day was born in 1970, so today we're commemorating its 44th anniversary. It's an unusual commemorative day in that the American-born holiday is now celebrated around the world, this year by perhaps about 1 billion people. It sprung from the decade of the 1960s when protest, civil rights advocacy, and awareness of damages done to our environment came together. If there is a mother of Earth Day, it might be the scientist Rachel Carson. Even though she died before Earth Day was born, in 1962, her book, Silent Spring, sold 500,000 copies in 24 countries. It awakened us to the harm that the pesticide DDT was doing to our environment, our birds and animals, and ourselves. Rachel died in 1964 of breast cancer, but she led America to question environmental hazards and what we might do about them. There is definitely a father of Earth Day. He was Gaylord Nelson. As governor and then senator of Wisconsin, he proposed many programs in his state to clean up and protect its environment. He joined the environmental groups, but wondered how to make more happen nationally. After a particular event, he had a brainstorm of how to do this. The Santa Barbara oil spill of January-February 1969 shocked him and America. Although the Gulf spill of 2010 and the Exxon Valdez spill of 1988 were worse, the Santa Barbara spill was the first one that shocked America on television, causing thousands to volunteer aid cleaning up beaches and shorebirds. Gaylord Nelson realized that he could organize a protest movement like the anti-Vietnam War ones and make it constructive, calling it a teach-in, like sit-ins of the civil rights movement. The day should always be educational. He would call it Earth Day, although some people wanted it to be the spring equinox, March 21st. Gaylord Nelson chose April 22nd, This was partly to give him time to involve students back from spring breaks. This date was also already known as Arbor Day since 1872, a day for planting trees across America. On the first Earth Day, April 22nd, 1970, 20 million people protested for the environment in the United States. Under Nelson's inspiration, Earth Day in ecology had a symbol and a flag that we have largely forgotten. Animator cartoonist Ron Cobb designed it in 1969. It is an E shape, elongated to also be an O shape, all green. The flag places the shape where our stars would be in the U.S. flag with green and white stripes instead of red and white. The symbol represents E for Earth and environment, O for wholeness and unity. Soon after the first Earth Day, Congress and presidents felt compelled to respond to public demand and environmental crises by creating agencies and legislation. The Environmental Protection Agency was created in 1970, and laws began to legislate the protection of clean air, clean water, wild and scenic rivers, and endangered species of animals. In 1972, another symbol further promoted Earth Day and environmentalism when Apollo 17 first photographed the whole Earth from space. People realized our planet is relatively small, fragile, and beautiful. In 1995, Gaylord Nelson received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor for a civilian. Earth Day has remained a vital opportunity to express worldwide concern for our environment and to remind ourselves every step we can take, and to remind ourselves of every step we can all take to protect and improve it for generations to come. So thank you all for being here and being part of Pikes Peak Community College's celebration and recognition of Earth Day. Konrad.
Thank you, President Winslow. Next, I will play the 11th hour documentary trailer. It was the film that the keynote speaker, it was this film that the keynote speaker was inspired to become an environmentalist at the age of 6.
The weather and the climate are making news in more than one region. Severe flooding has killed at least 72 people.
Under siege in the grip of unmitigated catastrophe.
The evidence is now clear. Industrial civilization has caused irreparable damage. Our political and corporate leaders have consistently ignored the overwhelming scientific evidence.
Not only is it the 11th hour, it's 11:59.
What we saw with Katrina is just prologue. Worse is yet to come.
The UN estimates that by the middle of the century, there may be 150 million environmental refugees.
There are too many of us using too many resources too fast.
The problem is that every living system is in decline, and the rate of decline is accelerating.
The tragedy is the potential extinction of humankind.
We face a convergence of crises, all of which are a concern for life. Will our pivotal generation create create a sustainable world in time.
People need to realize there are things they can do in their everyday lives. Everybody making a change adds up to something meaningful.
Our project today is the welfare of all of life as a practical objective.
With existing technologies, we could literally reduce the human footprint on planet Earth by 90%.
We have to imagine what it would be like to redesign design itself.
These are not technical issues nearly as much as they are leadership issues. There was a time Republicans and Democrats joined to pass major environmental laws. 500 years out, people look back at this time, and this was our finest hour.
What a great time to be born, what a great time to be alive, because this generation gets to completely change this world.
How many of us want to go see that video now that we saw it? Raise your hands. All right, we got a few. Awesome. That's great to see. Well, now we have come to our main event. Xiuhtezcatl is a 14-year-old indigenous environmental activist from Boulder, Colorado. He is the youth director of Earth Guardians, a nonprofit environmental organization that is committed to protecting the water, air, earth, and atmosphere. Xiuhtezcatl has talents in piano, hip-hop, public speaking, and music composition, just to name a few. He has taken up speaking engagements all over the world, providing an important youth perspective to whatever conference he is attending. Notably, Xiuhtezcatl has spoken in front of the United Nations and all three branches of the U.S. government. In addition, he has recorded his first album called Journey, that was featured along with him in Peter Gabriel's film titled Trust Colorado, and won 2012 Best Environmental Film Documentary of the Year. Xiuhtezcatl joins us with his 11-year-old brother, Itzcuauhtli. Let's give an enthusiastic welcome to our keynote speaker, Xiuhtezcatl and brother Itzcuauhtli.
Check 1, 2. Alright, let's get this started. Alright, how's everyone doing today? Good. Yeah? Doing good? Alright. My name is Xiuhtezcatl Roske-Martinez, and I'm a 13-year-old indigenous environmental activist from Bolton, Colorado. And I'm really stoked to be here to be celebrating Earth Day with you guys. And so I'm here to talk to you about the kind of world that our generation is going to be left with. But not only the problems that we are facing, but also the solutions that we have and the actions that we can take to pull ourselves out of this crisis. So I'm going to start by telling a little bit of my story. So it's really interesting because one of the hugest reasons I got involved in activism was because of that movie, The 11th Hour. And you know, when you watch that trailer, if you go home and you rent that movie or whatever, you know, think about watching that through the eyes of a 6-year-old. So when I was 6, I saw that documentary, and I realized that the problems that I was seeing, poverty, hunger, climate change, our environmental crisis, storms, droughts, floods, hurricanes, typhoons, and tornadoes, those problems are going to be left to our generation. Pretty much what happened is the past generation, they had a party on the planet, and they left it for us to clean up. So I realized that I not only had the responsibility, but I had the power to do something about it, not just for myself, not just for our generation, but for every generation to come. Because even we are not going to see the worst of these crises. Our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, this is the kind of world we are passing on to them. So ever since I was a little kid, ever since I can remember, I've always had such a deep connection to nature, to the natural world. You know, living in Colorado, I've always had a connection to the forests and mountains. And you know, when I saw that, I saw the mountaintop removal, I saw the deforestation, I saw the destruction, and I saw that this Mother Earth that I was connected to was being torn apart because of human greed, because of our desire for money, for power. And so, you know, one of the huge contributing factors to my activism was my cultural heritage. And ever since I can remember, I've always been a part of the ceremonies, and I was raised in the Aztec tradition. I was raised learning that all life was sacred, that all life needed to be protected. And I've always grown up in the ceremonies, learning my ancient language. My name is Xiuhtezcatl, means turquoise mirror in Nahuatl. And so it's amazing because indigenous people from all around the world, if you look at nearly any indigenous culture, we have a mutual respect, a mutual connection with the natural world. We are a part of the earth, not above it. We are here to protect nature, not conquer it. So a lot of these lessons, a lot of these teachings that I was raised with helped me become the person that I am today. And also my connection to nature. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about my organization, Earth Guardians, what we do, what I've done a little bit later. But one thing that's really huge for us, that's really huge for me, is education. Because when we are educated, when we know about a problem, we also know about the solutions, we can make a difference. We can change the world. So one way that I like to educate my audience is from, sometimes even like kindergarten students, middle school, high school, college age students, is through performance. How many of you guys like to listen to music? Okay, so if I don't see your hand raised, I'm assuming you don't like to listen to music. I'm just messing with you. So music is a really powerful tool that people can use to connect cross-culturally as well. And I've done concerts all over the world, and people that don't even speak my language, but they feel the vibration, they can hear the beat, they can listen to the music, connect to what I'm trying to get across, they can connect to what I'm saying. So we're going to perform a song for you guys called Return to Nature. I'm going to write my little brother Itzcuauhtli up here. So we write positive rap songs with inspiring lyrics to educate people around the country, to educate young people. And so here we go. The chorus is on the screen. If you can see that, probably not. It's kind of small, but that's all right. So yeah, let's get the music queued up and get this started. Check 1, 2. So I can at least say Return to Nature. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna invite everybody to stand up. Come on, guys, get out of your seats. Stand up. Dance around. Feel the beat. Clap your hands. Do what feels good. Yeah, yeah. Operation of life, nation, a way of life, forgotten by our generation. We birth, we alive, we think, reawaken, get back to the earth. What we are treating with bacon. This ain't a game, because collapsing so fast, I'm going insane. We're playing keys, not a Russian roulette. As our oceans are collapsing and I'm over the way. A mindset, researching what I plan. I'm trying to do this, they don't you rebirth, realize, rethink, reawaken, get back to the earth. What we are treating in ignorance is bliss. Hiding in the Do you guys like that? Yeah? Great. Whew. Let me catch my breath for a second. Cool. So, the next little chunk of our presentation is going to be about the problem. About why we need to take action. And people all across this country, people all across the world, we are blind to the fact that the survival of human existence is at stake. Because it's easy to hide. Ignorance is bliss, the first line of our chorus. And to not know, you kind of become susceptible to this. To the problem, to climate change, to air pollution, to floods, to droughts, tornadoes. You guys remember the big floods that happened here in Colorado? Might have not hit Colorado Springs as much, but my home, it didn't get that flooded, but it's because it was easy for us to respond to it. We have insurance on our houses, they come, they fix it if it gets flooded. Think about a third world country. If a flood like that hit Haiti, again, or Mexico, or a third world country like that, they would not have support, they would not have money, and it would be a lot harder for them to respond. So because being a first world country is kind of easy to ignore these problems. And what we have to realize is these are not problems that are going to go away. We cannot let them continue to happen because they are affecting us every single day. They are already changing the world. Atmospheric CO2 levels have increased incredibly since the Industrial Revolution. Right here, you see that line? It says 350. That's 350 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that before, but what that is that's a safe zone of carbon. And if we can stay under this line right here, that means there won't be huge disasters, floods, tornadoes, and our world will be, fairly safe. 350 isn't great, but that's the safe zone, that's the maximum point. Look where we are right now. We're at around 400 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. In 50,000 years, atmospheric CO2 levels have never been above right here. So the question is, how did this happen and how do we get back below this line of 350? So a lot of people have had this notion of global warming. It's getting hot in some places, ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising. That's something that's going to affect us out there. The polar bears are going to drown, go extinct. Sucks for them. I'm just going to go home and, do what I do. Go to school, do my homework, play video games, all that kind of stuff. And we forget that it is not just warming, but it is climatic shift all over the world. Places are getting colder, places are getting hotter, weather patterns are shifting. We're having floods in deserts, heat waves in California across the West Coast. And it's not going to stop unless we take action. So, do you guys remember the huge cold spells that hit the East Coast about a month back? Around there. So there was all these huge cold spells that hit, huge snowstorms, cars were buried in snow, ice storms, and then the Republicans, several representatives from the Republican Party said that proves or that disproves global warming. Yeah, it's freezing over the East Coast, that means there's no such thing as global warming. So Obama's environmental wing section, to respond to that, they made this amazing video that explains that it's not just warming anymore. It's weather patterns that are shifting. So it's a quick video, kind of scientific for any of you science majors out there. But yeah, here we go. I'm going to play this video real quick.
You've been hearing that extreme cold spells, like the one that we're having in the United States now, disprove global warming. Don't believe it. The fact is that no single weather episode can either prove or disprove global climate change. Climate is the pattern of weather that we observe geographically and over the seasons, and it's described in terms of averages, variations, and probabilities. But a growing body of evidence suggests that the kind of extreme cold being experienced by much of the United States as we speak is a pattern that we can expect to see with increasing frequency as global warming continues. And the reason is this. In the warming world that we're experiencing, the far north, the Arctic, is warming roughly twice as rapidly as the mid-latitudes, such as the United States. That means that the temperature difference between the Arctic and the mid-latitudes is shrinking. And that temperature difference is what drives what is called the circumpolar vortex, which is the great counterclockwise swirling mass of cold air that hovers over the Arctic. As the temperature difference between the Arctic and the mid-latitudes declines, the polar vortex weakens, and it becomes wavier. The waviness means that there can be increased, larger excursions of cold air southward, that is into the mid-latitudes, and in the other phase of the wave, increased excursions of relatively warmer mid-latitude air into the far north. Computer models tell us that there are many different factors influencing these patterns, and as in all science, there will be continuing debate about exactly what is happening. But I believe the odds are that we can expect, as a result of global warming, to see more of this pattern of extreme cold in the mid-latitudes and some extreme warm in the far north.
So as you guys can see, this is a pretty big problem, right? It's huge. It's going to affect every living system on the planet. It already is affecting every living system on the planet. Guess whose fault it is? It's our fault. Humans. And when people argue, well, atmospheric CO2 has been to 2,000 parts per million before. Yeah, and then, they're right. There was 2,000 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere at one point, but not when humans existed. Not when human life was on this planet. Well, we have to realize this is not just about the Earth anymore. This is not just about, saving the trees and the animals, which is an important part of it. But this is about the survival of humanity. This is about preserving humankind for generations to come. And so, I've dumped all this heavy, bad stuff that is happening all over the world. Climate change, shifts, warming in the north, cold spells in the mid-latitudes. And now, with all that, with the education, with the information that you now have of the problem, now it is time to take a step back and learn about the solutions. How does one person, one 6-year-old kid, one college student, one college professor, make a difference on a global scale? So, myself and youth representatives from all 50 states, we sued the state government for not protecting our atmosphere. And so there's this ancient doctrine that says that the earth, the air, the water, all of these resources are to be protected for future generations. So as you see, our water is being polluted, our air is being contaminated, our atmosphere is being messed with because of all the carbon emissions. They are not doing their job of protecting these resources for future generations. And we said, well, the atmosphere is a pretty important resource, right, guys? It doesn't belong to anyone, and it affects everyone. So we got to protect it. So we sued our state governments in all 50 states, asking them, we're not asking for money, we're asking them to put a 6% carbon reduction annually and massively reforest each individual state. So where we've won these lawsuits is Texas, I believe Montana, and it's looking like we're going to win in New Mexico. So what that means is the state of Texas has to reduce their carbon output by 6% every year. That's an incredible, huge win that a group of 11, 15, 18, 20-year-olds accomplished. So there's also a federal lawsuit that we sued against the entire country. And we're asking for the same thing, a 6% carbon reduction. And what that would show to the rest of the world, it would show us that the biggest corporate country on the planet is reducing their carbon emissions because young people stood up and said that we're not going to deal with this anymore. What is that going to say to the rest of the world? It's going to show young people all over the planet that young people are having the power to make a difference, to change the world. So myself and a team of the young people went down to DC to hear oral arguments in Supreme Court, and it was really amazing. It got dismissed because the oil and gas industry, they intervened. They got it dismissed, but then it was moved up to the next level of court. So I'm going back in about a week with this team of kids to go and present arguments to the judge, which is pretty exciting. So we wrote a song for this event, this young people suing their government. We wrote a song called Taking You to Court that tells our story of when we went and we lobbied our congressman And so yeah, I'll invite my little brother back up to perform this next song for you guys. Yeah, here we go, here we go, here we go.
Leaders ain't fit to lead our call. Supporting the polluters that are taking it all. Lining their pockets, getting filthy rich. While the earth is dying and the children get sick. We waited for you to stand up for our future. We waited for too long and now things get dangerous. Glaciers are frozen as the shoes dry. Things should come with disaster, so many have died. You are standing together to keep our faith. We are suing the leaders of our country and state. So we are taking unicorn. Now maybe you want it, you gotta have the climate to protect the atmosphere. You gotta put a climate recovery plan into place. Mass report, the United States. The natural resources need to be protected for future generations and not to be neglected. Our future is in danger, how we make that clear. Corporations putting profit for our future. How can we call ourselves the United States when we bicker amongst ourselves about politics? Where they'll be initialized in the future you believe. Not just for the children, but for all humanity. Time for both parties, put that equal aside. It's time to move away from conquer and divide. You are standing together to change our faith. We are doing the leaders of our countries and states. So we are taking to record. Now maybe you won't hear. You gotta keep the comment to protect the atmosphere. You gotta put a climate recovery plan into place. Mass report, the United States. The natural resources need to be protected for future generations and not to be neglected. We went to federal court in D.C. to plead our case. The big corporations got up in our face. In your face, the street rats, they were there too. Wearing their sterile suits, all black and blue. What? Challenging our case to get a dismiss. Going up against kids, is there something that it is? The gritty cruises will affect their kids too. They left the world full of doom. You are standing together to choose our faith. We are suing the leaders of our countries and states. So we are taking unicorn. Now maybe you will hear. You gotta get the climate to protect the atmosphere. You gotta put a climate recovery plan into place. Mass report, the United States. The natural resources need to be protected for future generations and not to be neglected.
Thanks, guys. So for those of you that just came in, I'm going to introduce myself quickly. My name is Xiuhtezcatl Roske-Martinez, and I'm a 14-year-old. Well, I've heard it go 13, 14. I'm going to be 14 May 9th, so let's just go with 14 for now. So I'm a 14-year-old indigenous environmental activist from Bolton, Colorado, and I'm here to tell you about the global crisis, the kind of world our generation is going to be left with, and actions and steps we can take to make a difference. I'm going to show you how one person has and can change the world. One college student, one 6-year-old kid. I started activism 7 years ago as a 6-year-old kid. Now I'm traveling all over the world, spreading my message. And so, you know, I'm just a normal kid. You know, I didn't get bit by a radioactive spider. I didn't fall into a pit of toxic waste. And so, I'm here to show you that every single person has to be the change we wish to see in the world. Every single person can make a difference. It's a little spiel of what I do and what this presentation is. So you guys kind of missed the crisis part, this huge global catastrophe that we're facing. But now I'm going to get into the power that young people have to change the world and what is already happening. The youth movement that is on the rise. So this is a picture of Power Shift in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 8,000 young people came together from across the country to demand renewable energy, to demand that the leaders of this country, the leaders of this world, start addressing problems like climate change, fracking, tar sands. Anybody know what fracking is in here? Can I see your hands? Yeah? Most of you guys know what fracking. So we have roughly about 50,000 active wells in Colorado. I'm not going to get into a whole thing. I do another presentation called The Inconvenient Proof, which tells all about fracking, which you guys can actually probably see videos of on our YouTube page. But anyways, there's a lot of big problems that these youth came together from around the world to address, to show the leaders that we are going to stand up for our rights. We are going to stand up for the kind of world our generation is going to be left with. We're going to stand up for our future, and we're going to raise our voice. Because every single one of these kids in this, you know, we marched through the streets of Pennsylvania. There's 8,000 young people. And the youth movement is just growing from there. So the Rio Plus 20 UN Summit, there were youth from 110 countries that came together. And also leaders from almost every country came together to try to solve climate change. Nothing really came out of it politically. But the powerful thing is that youth from 110 countries came together from all over the world to show the leaders that we're not going to sit idly by while you guys destroy our future. So this is a picture of my Earth Guardian crew in Boulder. And as you can see, there's kids as little as 6 and 7 years old there. And it's amazing because the power that this group of young people has had to change their community, to rewrite policies, laws locally is amazing. 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 9, 10, 11, all the way to 16, and it's amazing the power that these kids have had because they are passionate, because they are dedicated, because they educated themselves about the problem and the solution, and they acted upon it. We helped our city get off of fossil fuels. We helped end a 20-year contract with Excel. Now we're working towards shifting towards solar energy, renewable energies in Boulder. This is actually one of the first projects we worked on, which was pesticides. And we got pesticides out of the local parks in Boulder. I was about 9 then. And now one of the huge things that we're doing is educating our generation about the problems that we are facing and about the solutions that there are out there and the difference that we can make. So, I've traveled all over the planet, educating young people, showing them, telling them about fracking, about climate change. And, through my travels, people are seeing what these dedicated young people in my community have done. They are seeing the difference that we're making, and they are modeling it. It's a crew, Earth Guardian crew in Australia, Brazil, India, Africa. And young people from around the globe are coming together. They are seeing the power that we have to make a difference. Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon that we have to change the world. And it's true. That's where it starts. It has to start from educating ourselves, 1, about the problem, 2, about the solutions, and 3, taking action. Those are the 3 simple steps that anybody in this audience needs to start an Earth Guardian crew, to get pesticides out of their parks, to locally ban fracking. And the thing that we have to realize is that this is necessary for the survival of humanity, for the survival of our generation, for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. Normal college, high school, middle school students are going to have to start standing up across the globe to make a difference. Mahatma Gandhi says you have to be the change you wish to see in the world. What that means is we cannot wait for someone else to take action. We cannot wait for someone else to make a difference. A lot of people think that the power comes from political leaders, from governments, from presidents. But the power to make a difference, the power to change the world, comes from every one of you in this room. Each one of us has that power. Now the question is, what are you going to do with it? So to close up, I want to invite my little brother up for the last time to perform this song called Be the Change. You guys know HBO television? So they came out, they found Earth Guardians, what we're doing. They did a 30-minute special on us, and they recorded a professional music video of this song with a bunch of kids, which was really fun, really cool. And so, yeah guys, stay tuned, look for that. So here we go, we'll perform our last song, Be the Change. So for this last song, I want everybody to stand up out of their seats. Clap your hands, dance around. We have some space if someone wants to drop and do some breaking, some floor work. Windmills and flares. Now we're just waiting for the music. Huh? Oh yeah, okay. Thanks, Dad. So you remind me that we have a common response at the end that goes like this. So it goes like this. Who is the change? We are the change. Who brings the change? You guys say, we bring the change. You guys want to practice that a couple times? So you guys ready? All right. Who is the change? We are the change. Who brings the change? We bring the change. That was pretty good. Now we got to go a little bit faster, so it kind of beats tempo. It's like this. Okay, let's try it. So it goes, who is the change? We are the change. Kind of like that. You guys want to try it a little faster? Yeah? All right. Who is the change? We are the change. Who brings the change? We bring the change. Who is the change? We are the change. Who brings the change? We bring the change. You're getting ahead of me, man. You have to speed up the beat. All right, guys. Everybody ready?
to show you what you need. Trust me, right? These are the future that you will lead. For all of these things that for children to be. For all the proof of ecological disaster we do today. For the coming out future, all generations are counting on you. Guys and sevens, it's time to be the champion for what you know is right. It's time to be the champion for what you know is right. It's time to be the champion you got as one. It's time to be the champion that is everyone. You gotta feel the change. I live the change. You gotta share the change. Respect the change. Gotta feel the change. Now be the change. So be the change. So be the change. Real change starts working down inside to illuminate. Start being not right. Listen to your heart and see what is real. The words of the word is what you can feel. Breathing, keep that going slow. Be the truth that you know. Read what you know. Sad and long, then catch the ball. Open your heart, you gotta tell it what you call. It's time to be the champion for what you know is right. It's time to be the champion for the world will play. It's time to be the champion you got as one. It's time to be the champion that is everyone. Gotta feel the change. So live the change, gotta share the change. Respect the change, gotta give the change. Now be the change, so be the change. So be the change. So what's inside is waste pride, you know that. Bring down the line and open it to the floor. Never up the king for where you have become. Remember the truth that you have become. We become the change that we want to see. I want to know where we want it to be. We are all connected by the same thread. What we do to each other, we do to the rest. It's time to be the change that will work it out right. It's time to be the change for the world to life. It's time to be the change you got as one. It's time to be the change that is everyone. Gotta feel the change. So live the change, gotta share the change. Respect the change, gotta give the change. So be the change, so be the change. So be the change. Yes. Who is the change? We are the change. Who brings the change? We bring the change. Who is the change? We are the change. Who brings the change? Come on, who is the change?
We are the change.
Who brings the change?
We bring the change.
Who is the change?
We are the change.
We are the change. We are the change.
Alright guys, this is my voice here. I want to thank everybody so much for being here, for listening to my presentation, for coming out and making a difference on Earth Day. The first step you have already done, actually the first two steps, educating yourself about the problem and the solution. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I did not come here to be your parent and tell you, go recycle, go connect with your community, go start an Earth Guardian group. That's not why I'm here. So I told my story, I showed my facts. Hopefully I inspired a few of you out there. And if I did that, then I've done my job. Now it is your turn. You are educated about the problem. You are educated about the solutions. Now it is your turn to take action and be the change you wish to see in the world. If anybody wants to connect with Earth Guardians further, have any more questions, want to check out our website, download our music, we have all of our contact information over here, pamphlets, flyers, bookmarks, cards, all that kind of stuff. So again, thank you so much everybody. I want to give a huge shout out to Konrad for helping us bring us out here. Put your hands together for Konrad. So remember guys, this next part's up to you. You have to be the change that you wish to see in the world, and trust me, it's going to be worth it. Thanks.
All right, we have time for a few questions from the audience. Please be patient, raise your hands, and wait for the microphone to be handed to you. Xiuhtezcatl, please come up. How many? Do we have any questions? This is your golden opportunity.
Check 1, 2. Come on, guys. I know someone has a question about Earth Guardians, about our performance, about fracking. I was trained by one of the foremost experts in Colorado and actually in the country to give presentations on fracking. 1, 2. There we go. Yeah, right over here. Let's get him a mic.
I was just wondering how you were saying, you think there's going to be so many more refugees from natural disasters in the future. I was wondering how you stand, what you feel about FEMA and FEMA camps and all that.
Sorry. Yeah, I've definitely heard a lot about it, learned a lot about it. Not quite sure where I stand. You know, I don't really know too much about like these kind of like conspiracy theory type things, but I definitely think that, you know, if stuff starts to get really bad, that, you know, the governments, the industries, you know, the people in power are going to definitely have their little bunkers down there. But, you know, hopefully we're going to stop it before it happens. That's all I have to say. And I feel like if our generation comes together like I've seen that we have the capacity to, then we're not even going to have to worry about that. So, yeah. Any other questions out there? Yeah, right here, right here.
I was just wondering how much you traveled. As you said, you're from here and you work with Earth Gardens, so I was just wondering how much you traveled.
So I travel to the extent where I can't go to school anymore. I kind of started homeschooling-ish in January. Dropped out of 8th grade or 7th grade. And so, yeah, I've been traveling a lot since then. I'm going to go to Australia twice this year, India and Africa. Yeah, I got a lot of invites for Earth Day weekend actually, so you guys are lucky. No, I'm kidding. But I'm really glad to have stayed in Colorado because I've been doing a lot of traveling lately. You know, I got invites to Dubai, East Coast, West Coast, so, but I'm really glad I made it here. But yeah, I definitely do a lot of traveling with the work that I do. Any more questions? Anything at all? Length of my hair? No? Okay.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does it feel to be, after this is 7 years, do you still feel that same passion for the earth that you had when you first began?
That's great. Sorry, I'm gonna mic shut off for a second. That's a great question, and you know, through the last 7 years, I've seen things getting better and things getting worse. You know, all the people that were blind 7 years ago are still blind now. The people in power, the corporations, all they care about is money, greed, and power. But I've seen that this generation of young people, you guys, kids younger than you, high school, middle school students, that people are starting to rise up, people are starting to change, but I've also seen a lot more, when it comes to climate change. I'm kind of bad at sound effects, sorry. But I think that has only empowered me to continue more, because now that I see that there is a greater need, I see that there is a greater opportunity for our generation to rise up and combat it. So I definitely have the same passion. I feel like it's even gotten stronger over the last 7 years because the problem has gotten much more severe, and the people willing to take action have gotten way more inspired, way more fired up. So, yeah. Yeah, right here.
Were you aware that in the next 10 to 20 years we will have to change the name of Glacier National Park?
Sorry.
Were you aware that in the next 10 to 20 years we will have to change the name of Glacier National Park?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to change the name of a lot of glaciers out there in the next 10 to 20 years. And it's, I mean, you saw the video. You saw how weather patterns are shifting. You saw the trailer to the 11th hour. The 11th hour was made 5 years ago. 7, no, more than that, like 8 years ago. And they said that we have 5 to 10 years to clean our gravel up. So it's, I'm studying it almost every day, you know, all these new climate disasters, you know, California, all these big things are happening. And it's really devastating because, you know, our national parks are in danger. You know, the people, normal, everyday citizens are in danger. And, you know, the political governments aren't taking any responsibility. The corporations aren't taking any responsibility. So yes, I'm aware of that. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, you know, protect natural world, to protect our parks, you know. All right, any more questions, further questions?
So, I have a little bit of rambling to do before I have a question. And that is, you know, it's really the wealthier countries that are creating the climate impacts that we're seeing today. And it's also the wealthier countries, the people that reside within those countries that aren't really going to experience the impacts as immediately as people in some of the poorer nations. But we're also a culture of immediate outcomes, right? I need to see that what I have done is actually producing something. So that's the challenge with climate change. I consider myself an active person. If there's something in my neighborhood that I can see, I'm going to participate in because I have an immediate outcome. Climate change it's harder to get people because I can't measure it, I can't see it. What do you say to people like me and probably a lot of these people in the room that really need that immediate gratification of, I have done something?
That's a really, really good point, comment, question. All those mixed into one. And it's really challenging because, not only do people right away see the impact, but a lot of people don't see the problem in the first place. Like, you see like the hurricane that hit Haiti. I mean, that was a huge disaster because, it was a third world country that didn't have as much support or money. But then if something like that hit the United States, it would definitely wake us up, Hurricane Katrina. But it definitely, if that would have happened to Haiti or another third world country, it would have been a lot worse. So people that need to see that what they have done has actually made an impact. I have a couple things I want to say to you because I'm a lot like that myself. And one thing that is really, really important is patience. We have to realize that things aren't going to come fast. Climate change came really fast. We were not prepared for it. We are still not prepared for it. And the solutions cannot come fast either unless we have a lot of people behind it. But we can't get a lot of people behind it unless it starts with one person. So, if you're that one person that wants to do something, but you feel like you have no support or you have no people to make an actual difference, it's really challenging because we have to realize, realize that we can't just say, oh, I'm not going to do anything because it's not going to make a difference because I'm just one person. And it definitely always is going to start small. I started at a local event, I don't know if any of you have been to Boulder, but downtown Boulder at the band shell, when I was 6. And from then, I've spread my organization to 5 continents, and hopefully have inspired a lot of people. And so, it's a really hard thing to respond to, because I can totally relate to the fact that I need to see that what I'm doing is worth my time. And so I think there's one thing that people have to realize before they get into it is how huge the problem is. Watch The 11th Hour. Watch Tapped. Watch all these other documentaries that show the crisis. And then realize that, even if it's the smallest thing, you don't have to go out there and change the world. You don't have to go out there and travel or give fragment presentations. Even if it's the simplest things in your everyday lives, turning off the water when you're not using it, turning off the lights when you're not in the room. Easy stuff like that, it's going to make an impact, it's going to make a difference. You'll see your electrical bill and your water bill go down. And it's really hard to respond to that. And I'm sorry if I don't have the best answer, but all I can say is that there's a lot at stake, and if we're going to want to turn things around, it's got to start with each and every one of us as individuals, but then we're going to have to come together as a community. So, that's what I got. And yeah.
Have you heard of Chernobyl? And if so, would the world restart itself if everybody disappeared, like in Chernobyl?
Not heard of Chernobyl, I'm sorry. But would the world restart ourselves if we were wiped off it? Yes. That's a tough question because, people make the argument, why don't we just, let climate change kill us all and the planet will be saved, right? We don't want that to happen. It's not a good idea. Human civilization has come really far. And it's time, we've come to a crossroads in our path. We can either go one way and head into imminent destruction or go the other way. And like it said in the trailer, this is our darkest hour. But we have the power with technology, with young people that are inspired and willing to make a difference. This can also be our finest hour. So I think that if all human life was wiped off the planet, to answer your question, I don't think things would entirely restart, but things would go back to before humans. The buildings would erode away, the concrete would crack and flowers would bloom through it, stuff like that. But the thing is that we want to learn to live in harmony with the world, with nature. That's what we were put here to do. And unless we start doing our job, we're going to see a lot of big changes. So, yeah, that's my response. All right, anybody else? Last questions, comments? Yes, right here.
I just, my culinary students just in the last 2 weeks, in our nutrition class, that are studying about our drinking water. And to me, it's amazing how many of us don't know within our local municipalities what kind of chemicals are being used and what's going into our body. I think the fracking issue is a huge issue. Over 700 chemicals that are used in fracking and the impact it has.
That's really great because, it's awesome because in our classified culinary class, you might think, how is that going to tie into the environment? How is that going to tie into living sustainably? But it does right away. You can cook with organic food, organic products. You can learn about the chemicals in your water. You can learn about how to clean your water. And it's really critical because fracking is one of the biggest issues that I've ever dealt with. I'm still dealing with it. And living in Colorado, it's a lot of chemicals, pollutants going into the air, going into the water that we're drinking, that the children are drinking, the air that the children are breathing. And it's really important to know about those things. And I have a suggestion, if you want to learn more about it, I don't know how educated you are or how how much your students know about it, but the movie Gasland and the movie Tapped, those are two great movies. Have you seen Tapped?
We didn't watch Tapped, we watched Gasland.
Yeah. So that's a really good movie. Tapped is amazing because that shows globally the water impact that humans are having, the huge soups of plastic in the ocean. Anyways, yeah, but it's really great that you're doing that. You guys are learning about it because that's where it starts. I mean, you are obviously doing your part, and it's thank you for that. And the questions or comments, I think we're ready to move on. You guys good? Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, Xiuhtezcatl. I want to tell you that I have your back on that. What to do, how to do. I have plenty of opportunities to invite our audience here to engage in here at PPCC. For those who have just walked in, again, my name is Konrad Schlarbaum. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator here at Pikes Community College, and I welcome you and I thank you for attending. Next, I want to introduce a video, and it will be on pretty much after hearing about pressing and complex environmental issues, you might wonder how we can address them. Fortunately, we have been given the principles of sustainability to address these issues. I will now use a short and funny animated video to explain these principles.
Sustainability means that things can keep going, can sustain themselves, can continue into the future and go on forever. From a human perspective, sustainability for our planet means that it can continue to do what it was designed to do: provide fresh air, clean water, produce food, and allow us all to have a high quality of life forever. Unsustainability means that it cannot, and that is where we are now. 20 years ago, scientists in Sweden developed a definition for sustainability with 4 basic principles. These can be seen as the care instructions for our planet. If we follow them, it is good for our planet. And because we're part of the system that is our planet, it's good for us too. The care instructions are as follows: reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and heavy metals, reduce our dependence on synthetic chemicals that persist in nature, reduce our destruction of nature, ensure we are not stopping people globally from meeting their needs. Demand for the Earth's services, clean air, water, food, increases as the population increases and living standards rise, but the Earth's ability to provide these services is declining because of the way we're living. In our search for prosperity, growth and success, we are destroying the system that we as humans are completely dependent upon: nature. We humans have become a threat to our own way of life. The Earth is a system and everything is connected: society, environment and economy. To live sustainably, we need to follow the 4 care instructions and apply them to everything we do at home and at work. If we can follow these care instructions, we can work together to be sustainable. We will all have a better quality of life. We'll waste less, we'll pollute less, and we'll create more things we value in society, while improving our planet's chances of providing us with the very things we need to survive.
All right, so that was the principles of sustainability, and that is what I offer to you as a solution to our environmental crisis that we currently are living in, what we can do in our daily lives. And so I prepared a presentation because I want to introduce what we are doing here at Pikes Peak Community College in terms of sustainability. You may think it's something for policymakers or scientists to deal with, and it's not anything simple enough for us to take on here at Pikes Peak Community College, but I'd like to challenge that notion and offer what we have been doing and how you can get involved. There are 3 ways Pikes Peak Community College applies sustainability professional principles. We apply it in our infrastructure, our academics, and our culture. In terms of infrastructure, here are the departments that can make the most impact in terms of size of PPCC's ecological footprint. We have facilities and operations, which you just think about the built environment. The built environment, this atrium is the built environment. That's facilities and operations. Information technology, that's all the technology we use here. And auxiliary services is Xiuhtezcatl. When you go to the meadow here and have some food, there's an impact there as well. In terms of facilities and operations, we have 5 categories where we do things sustainably. We do waste management. Some of the things that you may see is the blue bins around here, recycling. And I'd like to remind you with our catering service today that you recycle your plastic cups and anything with the recycling symbol, the chasing arrows on it. Water conservation. Facilities has installed low-flow faucets and toilets. Energy conservation. They've installed efficient lighting, windows, appliances, water boilers and chillers, and air heating and cooling. Product management, low chemical paints and cleaning supplies. When you touch the surface of these tables here, you don't, if your skin is sensitive, you don't have a reaction because we're using eco-friendly cleaning supplies. So you can thank facilities for that. And contract and procurement management, which we're encouraging contractors to reuse or recycle leftover building materials. So as you can see, just in that's a lot. And I wasn't here when that was going on. They did it on their own. They felt like it was important. And that's why I like for us to consider how it might be important for us to at least utilize that of which they've given us. The recycling bins, the low-flow faucets and toilets, all those types of things. We use them and we're saving the earth by using them. We're living sustainably. And their investment has been paid off. They get a return on their investment. In terms of infrastructure, we also have information technology. We purchase Energy Star rated computers and TV screens. They donate or recycle electronic equipment, and they offer duplex or double-sided printing, so that we don't print single pages and have use double the amount of paper. Also in infrastructure, we have auxiliary services in Xiuhtezcatl. We have locally sourced organic food at the Meadow and in Xiuhtezcatl locations. We have recyclable to-go containers. We offer a discount for using a reusable cup and reusing cooking grease for biodiesel for our fleet here at Pikes Peak Community College. Now we talked about infrastructure, we talked about facilities. Now let's think about academics. I'm just every day I seem to come across a new course here offered at Pikes Peak Community College that has some bit of sustainability in it, and I'm just so excited about the prospects of that. But you might ask yourself, well, how does sustainability apply to my academic program? How does it apply? Well, I offer that our economy and therefore we depend on natural resources to survive. Therefore, we should learn how we can better manage our resources for the long-term sustainability of people, profit, or economy, and our environment, or Earth. These are a list of the courses we offer here at Pikes Peak Community College with a bit of sustainability curriculum in them. You can recognize how varying they are, from art to interior design to culinary, as we have representatives here from there. Dental assisting, you wouldn't think you would see sustainability in the dental office, but they do have a whole chapter in their textbook on sustainability. And I want to ask, how many of you out there see a program that you're currently enrolled in? Please raise your hand. All right. Great, good to see. So we talked about infrastructure, we talked about information technology, or academic, and now we move on to culture, and that's where I come in. I'm part of the Office of Sustainability. It was created and funded by you, the students. It's 3 years in the running. I am the second sustainability coordinator. My job is to coordinate efforts to create a sustainable culture here at Pikes Community College, and I have 2 years to make the case for sustainability on campus. And the big question that I think was posed during Xiuhtezcatl question and answer forum was, how do I get involved? What do I do? And I offer these opportunities right here. For students, I have the Sustainability Club, and I'd like for a moment to specifically elaborate on that. If you join the Sustainability Club, you make it out to be what you want it to be. I'm simply your facilitator. I'm simply your guide, so to speak. But here are some opportunities that I brainstormed that may interest you. By joining the Sustainability Club, you can learn professional and personal skills relevant to all academic programs, like I said before. You can take the knowledge you learn in class and apply it to real-life projects. Your efforts will pay off in grades, skills, and network. I have a budget myself, and I would love to spend it on you, the students, and your projects and ideas. So please, take the opportunity to consider this opportunity. Collaborate with students, faculty, and staff, and community experts to realize the full potential of your ideas. You don't have to do it alone. It may be your idea, but we can work together to bring your idea to fruition, to real life. It's just, you don't have to do it alone. There is a community of support structure here to see your idea all the way through. You learn how to create, promote, and campaign programs that work to benefit people, profit, and planet. No one stands to lose. Can you think of anybody that stands to lose in that when thinking that way? And lastly, you can participate in conferences, field trips, and service projects that increase your awareness about environmental, social issues, and community efforts to address them. So I ask you to join today and begin to reap the free benefits. On your tables, you'll see little sheets of paper and pencils and papers, as well as the buckets and bins on your tables. I ask that you fill out the little pieces of paper with your contact information and what one of these programs you might be interested in. Please write legibly so that I can read them and get back with you shortly. Now, and also for students, I have the Centennial Campus Garden, and I'm currently working with the culinary and the dietetic program. If you're interested in that, here's what you could potentially gain. You can learn where food comes from, how it is grown, and how to prepare a balanced meal for you and your family. And by doing that, you reduce your food costs weekly. Because we all know we go to the grocery store and can potentially spend upwards of $100 a week on groceries. Well, that can significantly be reduced if we just have a garden in our backyard or in our house. So if you're interested in that, please list on your cards the community garden. We're here to collect interested students so we can potentially see about offering a continuing ed course on it. Also, the recycling program. A lot of people think, it's not a big deal, you know. It is a big deal because what we throw away could potentially be reused. And we're throwing away money. And so I encourage you to get involved in this recycling program. I could always use help in that area. And also work study. It's just me in the Office of Sustainability. I have a wonderful support staff at Student Life and Student Success, but I could use some students, especially at least their feedback, in helping me to meet my mission here at Pikes Community College. In terms of staff, I have the Eco Advocate program. I want to focus on that just a bit here. The Eco Advocate Program, I train you to be the trainer in your office or classrooms so that I don't have to train everybody at Pikes Peak Community College, but a few people, a few choice people in offices throughout the different campuses. And that's so we can maximize the benefits and realize the impact. In addition, I have team, department, division training, and field trips. And for faculty, I have the Eco Advocate Program as well, classroom presentations, field trips, co-curricular activities, partnering with local companies and organizations. So please, if you're interested in any of those opportunities, fill out your form there and turn it in, and I'll get back with you shortly. Do we have any questions? Nope. Any questions? I do hope that you visit us on Facebook, Office of Sustainability, and our webpage. You hit the About and you go to Sustainability. I spent a lot of hard work in putting information on there that is relevant to you, that you can get involved in. Now, you can help me put on better events by finishing out your events survey there, and that'll be your ticket to lunch. So if you haven't filled that out yet, please help me fill that out. So in closing, I'd like to recap what my hope is for Pikes Peak Community College. My hope is that we come to know our daily actions, that our daily actions greatly impact our surrounding environment's ability to support life. My hope is that we not only recognize but act on our responsibility to live sustainably so that people, the economy, and the planet can flourish harmoniously for future generations to come. As our event comes to a close and we prepare to satisfy our appetites, I would like to thank our distinguished guests for coming. In addition, I would like to thank Aspen Point for providing the tasty food that we hope to devour. Before you get in line, make sure to bring with you the completed copy of your events satisfaction survey. And lastly, I invite all fee-paying students, plus one guest, to the Thrift Shop Prom tonight, happening right here from 6 to 8:30. There will be DJ, dancing, professional photos, catered food, and a $50 ARC thrift store prize giveaway for the best dressed female, male, and couple. So I invite all of you to come to that event tonight. Again, thank you for attending, and bon appetit.